Winning by Tim Grover. Before checking this book out, I didn't know all too much about Tim Grover. All I knew is that before his other book, Relentless, was like a about the ultimate mentality of toughness, the type that can be kind of destructive and dark, whether you know how to use it right or not. Just so you know, this guy was the main trainer of the most, just about every one of the most legendary basketball players in the history of history. He trained Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Dwayne Wade, Pippen, Barkley, and I think he trained LeBron James, but don't hold me to that. In the audio version of this book, is this like a partial interview or something? Is this like partially what David Goggins and his ghostwriter did with the audio version of Can't Hurt Me? It's this part book, part podcast, part radio show event series thing. It's definitely entertaining, but it's also like, what? Guys, we need to just come up with a name for this audiobook format. Really. It's very fun, but it needs a name, or else it's just gonna be known as a part book, part podcast, part radio show event thing series, and that's just not cool, man. He said that to be winning, you have to taste winning. You have to feel winning, you have to understand winning, and vice versa. This really seems to be one of those books about a word or concept, which is fine, and it's really accessible. It might almost be too accessible, where there's a word or concept and someone takes it apart and looks at it from every conceivable angle with no research but his or her own experience, and then being like, there, that's it, now go win. Isn't that strange? Grover runs the introduction with a story about his last conversation with Kobe Bryant, RIP to Kobe Bryant, and a little about how Bryant's experience as a basketball player carried into his experience with retirement. He couldn't just take a bike ride. He had to ride in the desert at the hottest time of day just to prove to himself that he could. He never just watched film. He broke it down frame by frame, analyzing every movement and every variation. He played with a concussion in an all-star game unbeknownst to anyone else, just to see how it would feel. He didn't call his friend and idol, Michael Jordan, to see what's up. He called him in the middle of the night, asking questions and looking for ways to become 0.0001% better. The introduction is called The Chase, almost like chasing the sun, over and over again. Listening to it, of course, I was like, okay, like every other book reviewer, how is this going to be different from the previous book? How is this book going to be different from Relentless? The main reason he wrote this book is that allegedly you can't have the relentless mentality without the winning mentality and vice versa. You could easily introduce a second or third book and say the same thing. You can't have this without having this. But I don't really trust that skepticism. In fact, I'm actually kind of skeptical about that skepticism. At the start, he makes winning sound like this thing that you have no option but to withstand a love-hate relationship with. It doesn't sleep, and it doesn't understand why you do. It holds you up to the sun and watches you burn. It's the ultimate reality check. It's a scorching reminder of who you are and who you pretend to be. If you're comfortable with pressure and sacrifice and pain and criticism, if you can learn to focus on the result, you can chase winning, fight for it, and defend your right to catch it. The whole book is littered with proverbs like these. Do I like that in the book? I mean, that's not even the most important question. Again, as a reviewer, I'd like to say that he is willing to bring more powerful points across and teach beyond that. And come on, I mean, it's Tim Grover, of course he is. But that's as a reviewer. As someone interested in his own self-improvement, yes, of course.
OFC, bruh.
Do I like it? Yes, but is it something you would like? Here's something else I noticed about winning, and please hear me out. The author said, what's the first thing that you think of? Just try this. When you think of the word winning. Instant thought, first thing. There's no right or wrong answer. And feel free to write your answer in the comments below. What do most CEOs and executives that Grover works with, what do they think of? Most of them will say awesome, amazing, feels incredible, euphoria or joy. The greats or legends, as he refers to them, you know what their answers are?
It's a little bit bleak.
Emptiness. It's like a black hole. It's something that's so fleeting that you may never catch it again. It's some kind of starvation. Isn't that depressing? Okay, well, that's not exactly what they said, but it's along those lines. But here's my thought. What the hell? Now, again, hear me out because this is a very common thread in Grover's work. It's this seemingly ridiculous mentality of irrational, almost inhuman hunger, and a discipline to destroy everything in your path at all costs. I think unstoppable is just as primary a description as relentless, but I didn't train the most well-known basketball players in history, so literally what do I know, right? I swear that this is not the end-all be-all way to unrealistic, never-before-touched success in any field or calling. There are so many ways to unrealistic, never-before-touched success in every field or calling that if I had $1 for each one, I would buy all the basketball teams in the NBA, and then I would pay Grover to train me on how to train my cat to train them to win against each other. And this is just one paradigm. It has to be. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Sam and I want to make self-growth normal because people shouldn't have to look this information up. It should just be mainstream knowledge. It should be on the news. It should be taught in schools. If that's something you're interested in, then please make sure to smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. In this book, the author gives us 13 definitions of winning. He says that he likes the number 13 because he doesn't believe in luck. And he ranks everything on the list as 1. Because when you start ranking things like 1, 2, 3, 4, etc., people think that 1 is most important and the other ones are not as important. I, for the sake of this review, will list them the way he does. Number 1, winning makes you different and different scares people. Grover focuses much of this chapter on learning and sharing what you learn and how to get just 1/10,000% better. Michael Phelps won 23 gold medals, Olympic gold medals, and 28 medals overall by finding ways to shave 1/100 of a second off his time. And you have to be a dedicated enough competitor to go where others can't and won't. Some people at different companies may all sell the same product, but the ones who stand out will advance their skills and thinking. Number 1, winning wages a war on the battlefield of your mind. There is a battlefield inside and there's a battlefield outside. And many people focus more on the outside than they do on the inside. You need to win your mental battles. Decide that things are not going to be problems because you're going to find their solution. And negative thoughts are a blueprint for improvement. As long as the print is blue, the mint is proof? It's too early. It's 8 o'clock. Why am I saying that? You learn a lot about preparedness and operating outside of your own system. If you can't operate outside your own system, winning will get bored and it'll look somewhere else. For someone else. Notice again, he talks about winning like it's a person or some kind of drug. Oh my gosh, how messed up would that be if this whole time I were lying about this book and it were really just like a Charlie Sheen biography? Number 1, winning is the ultimate gamble on yourself. This chapter did focus a lot on gambling and confidence, and gambling on something that improves your chances. Nonetheless, the more confident you get with winning, there is always an uphill battle regarding what you're betting against because you're always learning new things that are opposing you, aka that 1/100th of a second we were talking about earlier. It's bigger than you think. My favorite story from this one is the author's from college when the teacher would make every student stand up and ask everyone questions, and when they got something right, they could sit down. And the author stood standing the whole class for 7 classes straight until he studied the textbook to the point where the professor said,
Okay, you can stop answering questions.
that is relentless. It is winning and it is confidence. Number 1, winning isn't heartless, but you will use your heart less. Apparently, emotions aren't really good for winning. They're volatile. They don't allow you to stop for a second and meditate on what's happening, and they can cause you to lose your cool. The price, what he says, is mind over feelings. Winning wants to take control of you. Don't let it. Keep your engine cool at all costs, no matter how hot others get around you. Number 1, winning belongs to them and it's your job to take it. When you grind and grind and grind and grind, you have to be grinding something out of what you're grinding. What are you grinding? Some kind of cheese? Parmesan? Maybe cheddar? It smells good over there. Please drop your favorite cheeses in the comments below. Mine is Parmesan, but I did try feta a few weeks ago. I'm not too crazy about the texture, but I'm very impressed with the taste. But this is a book review, not a cheese review, okay? Let's get back to business here. Number 1, winning is all of you and there is no balance. This one part stood out from the chapter about balance. I've never heard anything like it. And then she said the words that stung me harder than anything that has ever been said to me. If I eat less, can you stay stay home more, I had to look away so she didn't see her dad in tears. It took me nearly 13 years before I could tell that story without losing it, and it still hits me hard even as I write this. I suppose in a movie the dad would have this thunderbolt moment and decide never to travel again. He would never miss a school play or a volleyball game. He'd never have to call home from across the world to say happy birthday to his little girl. I kept packing. Of course, I hugged her and told her I'll be back soon, and we talked about the great things we'd do when I return, and we did them all, but on that day I kept packing. How do you explain to a 5-year-old, or anyone for that matter, that they're the most important thing in your life, but for right now, this one other thing is all you can think about? If you've never felt that sinking feeling of disappointing someone because you're consumed with your own goals, you've never experienced the intoxication of winning. Number 1, winning is selfish. This chapter is all about selfishness. If you think the whole book is all about selfishness, no. This chapter is, because it allows you to give to your inner circle, and that is necessary, and it's selfless. People cannot give and give and give in ridiculous amounts to others without selfish dedication. You fill up your cup and then you help others fill theirs. Bill and Melinda Gates, the Walton family, Warren Buffett, they have spent decades and decades and decades working on themselves, and now they are able to donate billions of dollars to the masses because they did that. It may not be the only reason, but it was necessary. It was very necessary. Number 1, winning takes you through hell, and if you quit, that's where you'll stay. Going back to what I said earlier about that relentless attitude of I'm gonna destroy everything in my being just one way to look at it. If you look at the most successful people in every field or calling, I haven't. Not many people in self-help have. You can read a million biographies and autobiographies and studies and articles and newspapers and everything, and you will still not know it all. But I've learned a few things, and you're definitely always going to find some variety of fire in those people. It's some form of relentlessness. And I don't entirely disagree with him that this philosophy is the right way to do things, and like the only one. Again, I do not have the most unmatched resume in the history of basketball trainers, and I didn't realize that until the previous chapter when I was writing this review. Number 1, winning is a test with no correct answer. This chapter began with a story of the time the author went skydiving. Then he has this phenomenal list of differences between fear and doubt, as well as the 4 rings of winning, which is a fantastic concept I actually had time to do a video of before this review. I'll link that in the comments below. By the way, that little tribute at the end about his father was very touching. Might I add that I was taken aback, quite honestly, by how personal a lot of this was of a right for Grover, probably. And when he's talking about moments when he felt ashamed in school, or when his daughter was younger, or the impact that his father had on him when he was younger, if you checked out Relentless, then you are in for a treat with winning. I mean, this guy clearly and definitely broke through to another level of self-understanding, and it says that you can have a strong sense of personal and familial values and be a world-class champion in the science of elite, heroic, unmatched performance at the same time while sticking to them. Although it's a constant fight of some sort, it is as worth it ultimately as you would like it to be. Number 1, winning knows all your secrets. What I just said, by the way, that does not mean this guy has gone soft. The most controversial part of Relentless was, well, more publicized than all the others, of course, was about the dark side. This chapter is about the darker side, the monsters that you talk to at 2 to 4 in the morning. Stop looking for others to save you. Your greatest partners and allies are already inside you, and they're talking to you all the time. Listen to those ghosts and skeletons. Join the conversation. Stop telling them they're wrong, and open your mind to the possibility that they are 100% correct. You need them and they need you. They are you, and they know you better than you know yourself. They're your dark side, and they're your greatest power. You will never hear anything like this at your run-of-the-mill self-help seminar. Like, this is very just unconventional thinking. Number 1, winning never lies. Obviously, the lies you tell yourself are an obstacle. You don't have quote-unquote plenty of time. Showing up is not half the battle, and faking it is not going to help you make it. At this very moment, you could be making up a facade that you don't even realize that you're making up. And it's worth strongly considering just sitting down and considering what that facade might be. Number one, winning is not a marathon, it is a sprint with no finish line. A marathon becomes a series of sprints. Everything in our world is moving faster and you have to move ahead. Believe it or not, Rome, it actually was built in a day. It was built every single day for thousands of days. Saying it's just one day or it's just one game. That's not true, because that day or game is important. You are not gonna get it back. Something else I wanna add, in the audio version, Shari Wenk, the co-writer, she mentioned so many times this was the most emotional chapter. This was the best chapter, definitely the deepest chapter. Every chapter she said this in the beginning of each one, and Grover will elaborate more on what the chapter's about in summary as after she asks him to clarify one or two important things pertaining to that chapter. This happened at the beginning of every chapter, and it brought a lot of flow and clarity to the book because it's almost like a revision of, in retrospect, here is what these chapters were meant to be. And I don't remember the last time I heard that in an audiobook. Number one, winning is everything. This one was actually kind of beautiful and it was fairly climactic. He talks about death and how it puts you in the elite club of winning, where your race is over and everything that you've achieved will stay with you. It's almost like the reminder of your imprint on, I guess, the galaxy. At that point is up to others. This makes sense if you think about Kobe or CEOs like Tony Hsieh or artists from Da Vinci to Mac Miller. I sell cars at a dealership, and there is a guy who worked there for 37 years. Before that, I literally never heard of anyone working anywhere for 37 years, not even in a show or movie. And so many people come in and they call asking if he's still there. He retired in his 80s, and his customers still work with us because he brought them in and they kept coming back. What kind of imprint are you going to leave? Please let me know in the comments below. I feel like I've said that enough times in this video that no one's gonna write anything in the comments below, because first I asked about what you're like amazing at, and then I asked something about what's your favorite cheese, and then I asked this. I don't know. Quotes. In school, you're tested after you learn. In life, the test comes before you learn. The more you think for yourself, the less you need the experts. Confidence is the ultimate drug, and winning is the dealer. If you think the cost is too high, wait till you see the bill for doing nothing. No is a complete sentence. It requires no interpretation, and everyone in the world knows what it means. You have no lane. The road is open, and it all belongs to you. I never lost a game. I just ran out of time. It took death to get Kobe to quit. Direction 1. I recommend this book for anyone who is obsessed with high performance. Direction 2. If you like this book and you haven't checked out his other book, Relentless, please go check out Relentless. This book and Relentless are a hand-in-hand couple for sure. You might also like Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. Winning by Tim S. Grover and Shari C. Wenk. There's a link in the description if you guys want to check it out and read the reviews. That and all the other books that I mentioned in this video, if you want to check those out as well. If there are any other books that you guys want me to check out and review, please let me know in the comments below. Also let me know if you checked out this book and you liked it. If you guys buy anything through those links in the description, then I get commission, which helps me build this channel and keep making these videos. But other than that, please make sure to smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. Subscribe if you haven't already, because this has to be like one of the longest video reviews I've done in a while. And I don't understand why people watch this far into my videos, they don't subscribe. But if you have subscribed and you want to turn it up just a notch and turn on that notification bell to get a notification whenever I drop new videos, that would mean the world to me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. You could find me everywhere, and I will see you then.